Well, hello everyone. Welcome back to Home Sweet Home. So in case you're wondering what we are doing today is, when I was doing my video talking about, IceCrown Citadel and such, I might have mentioned, I don't remember if I did or not, that there was also a set of dungeons, 3 in particular, that were here in IceCrown that you would do as a lead up into the raid. And I really like that you can just do them all 3 times in a row. And they have such a really cool story attached to them. Also that they're different based on what faction you are. And so because of that, I want to show you guys that, but I want to show you guys specifically the Alliance side of these dungeons, because here's the major difference between going through these dungeons. If you're on the Horde, you're with Sylvanas, and she is awful the whole time. She is just terrible. There'll be people who will die, and she'll be like, oh, I thought he would never shut up. It's really just, I can't stand it. However, if you're on the Alliance side, you go through with Jaina. And remember, this is Jaina when she was, you know, I don't know how to describe it. It's not the Jaina we know today. This was Jaina who was still like the Jaina from Warcraft 3, who was hoping for hope that Arthas could be saved, that it was Arthas and not that he wasn't gone forever. You know, you guys don't want to talk about it. You'll see what I mean when we go through these dungeons, especially when we get to the last one. So the 3 dungeons in particular I'm talking about are the Forge of Souls, the Pit of Saron, and the Halls of Reflection. And you should hopefully see what I mean when we go through those with Jaina compared to Sylvanas. So in order to get to these dungeons, it's a little tricky because I was confused the first time I tried to find them. But you actually make your way down over here on this side of the Citadel to this temple, the Frozen Halls. By the way, in case you're curious, yes, I'm doing this with a Worgen Death Knight. This is my Worgen Death Knight. You know, has some transmogs here. I don't mind showing off here. Yes, I finally got Armageddon to drop. Oh, I got this last night. I was so happy it finally dropped. One of the best two-handed weapon transmogs in the entire game. And it has like a 2% drop rate. I have shoulder pads from Ulduar. That headpiece is the mythic one from Hellfire Citadel. These boots are from the Nighthold one. I also have the helmet, but as you can see on a Worgen, it looks kind of silly because it's so stretched out. This is the only thing I don't like about transmogs on a Worgen with the snout, is that it makes the helmet so stretched out. It's the only complaint I have about it. I think I have those pants on. I'm not entirely sure. I don't think so. I also have this chest piece, but I don't think I'm wearing it right now because I am wearing the chest piece from here, the breastplate there. But you know, just some transmogs here and there. I also have the belt, the girdle from Hellfire Citadel. So I've got some transmogs that I collected from some other raids here and there for the Death Knight. I got these shoulder pads. These are amazing because they actually like do this animation. It's incredible. But I decided to go with that headpiece for the Hellfire Citadel mythic one because, well, it just shows off the Worgen head, which I always like. And the other ones, you know, look kind of silly because it's stretched out. Alright. So as you can see here, we have the entrances for the 3 different dungeons here. The Forge of Souls, the Halls of Reflection, and the Pit of Saron. So the order, story-wise, is you do the Forge of Souls, then it'll take you into the Pit of Saron, and that will then give you an entrance to go into the Halls of Reflection. We're going to do this on normal because sometimes if you try and do this on heroic, it's like, nope, you can't do this. So I'm just going to go ahead and avoid that by just go ahead and trying to do this on normal. There's really nothing extra to do this on heroic for, so. I am doing this on Unholy also, by the way, just because I like having these guys to defend me. So, you know, I don't necessarily need them to, but it just makes me feel better. Hi, Jaina.
All I ever wanted was to study.
We don't have much time, hero. What do you need? What would you have of me,
Thank the light for seeing you here safely. We have much work to do if we are to defeat the Lich King and put an end to the Scourge. Our allies within the Argent Crusade and the Knights of the Ebon Blade have broken through the front gate of IceCrown and are attempting to establish a foothold within the Citadel. Their success hinges upon what we discover within these cursed halls. Although our mission is fraught with peril, we must persevere. With the attention of the Lich King drawn toward the front gate, we will be working our way through the side in search of information that will enable us to defeat the Scourge once and for all. King Variant's SI-7 agents have gathered information about a private sanctum of the Lich King's, deep within a place called the Halls of Reflection. We will carve a path through this wretched place and find a way to enter the Halls of Reflection. I sense powerful magic hidden away within those halls. Magic that could be the key to destroying the Scourge. Make haste, champions. I will prepare the troops to fall in behind you.
What is this quest she has for me? We're severely undermanned to be risking a venture into the Citadel, but opportunities like this are too rare to pass up. Clear the way to the far side and secure the passage to the Pit of Saron. We will need to hold it to move our men farther into the Citadel. Alright, go ahead and grab that. So you can see the layout. There's only 2 bosses here, because remember, this is not just supposed to be one big dungeon. This is supposed to be 3 dungeons all together, like string together, like you do one after the other. So that's why it's not a very big dungeon with not very many bosses. Of course, as you can imagine, with this guy currently at 111, I can just go ahead and one-shot many of these guys. Especially because we're also doing this on normal. Now, I'm actually going to try and show you guys... I like that I can get rep with the Alliance Vanguard. I'm also going to try and show you guys IceCrown Citadel on the Alliance side. In my soloing raids video, I did the Horde side with my Paladin. But that was also to show you guys, you know, the full run, as well as how the boss works if you're playing a class that can be able to heal. I'm going to show you guys IceCrown Citadel with this character for 2 reasons. One, to show you the difference between what's like when you go in as an Alliance character compared to a Horde character. But 2, to also show you how to do the raid without dealing with that one boss, which is that green dragon that you have to heal if you're playing a character that can't heal. Gosh, I love having this. I love having Armageddon now. I'm so happy that this sword dropped. I was so unsatisfied with many of my 2-handed weapon choices, and then this dropped and went, oh yes, I can finally be able to use this, because, oh my gosh, this just, oh, it's just beautiful. I love this sword. Now, if you're curious, for those of you who don't know, if you're wondering where does that drop, how do you get it, this is a drop. It's a very rare drop. It has like a 2% drop rate. And you get it from 25-man Nox Ramus. 25-man only. Let me make that be very clear about that. You cannot get this on 10-man normal, because if you try and find it here, you won't find it. Now, it offers different transmogs. For example, you can get this sword here, which I still have yet to get. This is going to be one of the next ones I try and get. This is the sword from the South Park episode that focused on World of Warcraft. Yeah, you remember that famous episode where the majority of the episode was within the game of World of Warcraft? And then they brought this sword in at the end to, quote-unquote, save the day? Yeah, this is that sword for anyone who actually wants to be able to have that, which I think that would be great to have as if you're playing as a Frost Death Knight. I also need to get this. But then you'll see if I switch to 25 normal and we look at the transmogs that are here, there it is. There's Armageddon right here. It drops off the 4 horsemen and Gluth, which Gluth is the dog here. And then of course you guys know the 4 horsemen. And then you see other ones here like the Jawbone. I want to get that. You can get this other, these other things like Broken Promise, Last Laugh. There's some other weapons here. Actually doesn't show all of them, the ones that you can get, because I know I got some other ones to drop here. Let me go to all classes and show you guys, because there's some here that dropped that I do want to show you. This one right here, the Turning Tide. Look at this sword. That's an awesome looking rune blade, and from that drops from Kel'Thuzad. I have that one, and I really, really like it. I have it on my warrior. I also want to get this gun transmog here for my hunter, but you have to go through with a character to do that. Here's another cool looking shield wall. Terror. So, but again, these are only available through 25 normal. So if you're going to do these, make sure you check the adventure guide to know what you want to get, especially if you want to do collect this. But also remember, you can only collect this if you're playing as a character that is capable of wielding two-handed swords. If you're playing as a character who can't do that, you're not going to be able to collect it if it actually drops for you. And there is nothing more devastating than something you want dropping, and your character that you're using is not capable of actually collecting it. Ugh, it's awful.
I need
Speaking
to
from
get
personal
closer.
experience here. Because you finally got it to drop,
I need to target
and
something
then you can't
first.
pick it up. I turned the music down in here, by the way, because apparently there is a track in here that plays that I heard is actually from a Mega Man game. And I do not want to deal with any copyright issues if that's the case. So that's why I turned the music way down. Which is a shame, because I love the music of Wrath of the Lich King. Wrath of the Lich King has one of my absolute favorite soundtracks that any Blizzard game has ever had. Not just including WoW expansions, but just all the Blizzard games. Alright, so we may as well also check up on the lore of some of these bosses here. Let's see, I don't really care about the loot, obviously. Never mind, it apparently doesn't care about us learning about the lore. Only a generic for the bird overall. For many years, the champions among the races of Azeroth have stood against the Lich King only to be slaughtered mercilessly and forced to serve in his army of undead horrors. In his ongoing struggle to stop the Lich King, Tyrion Fordring of the Argent Crusade has joined forces with Darian Mograine of the Knights of the Ebon Blade in order to assault IceCrown Citadel with a unified army called the Ashen Verdict. It's a shame they don't really give here, other than this up here, I guess. Bronjam has served the cult of the damned from the early days. Kel'Thuzad himself taught Bronjam, the value of souls and how to grind them down to fuel the engines of the Scourge. He can corrupt the souls of his foes and tear them out piece by piece, making him the ideal guardian for the Lich King's Forge of Souls. Now, in case you're wondering what that is, it's that right down there. Yeah. Doesn't that look just pleasant? That's not a forge. That's like basically a grinder. Yeah. Definitely adds a bit more of an extra horrifying realization to this place, doesn't it?
Finally, a cabin comes.
Ooh. I got a mace. Lucky old son. Go ahead and grab that. No transmogs I'm really, like, dying to get in here, but whatever. I'll take what I can get. Alright, so this next one you're probably going to recognize if you went through Black Temple. The Devourer of Souls. And just wait till you hear it. The dark industries Bronjam carries out in the Forge of Souls produce tortured, fragmented spirits to prevent their escape and use every scrap of the damned. The Lich King created the Devourer of Souls souls. The devourer of souls hunts and consumes the stray spirits and slowly breaks them down within its terrible form. The consumed souls are driven mad with anguish and suffering, but the devourer's hunger is never sated. By the way, I'm also very happy with myself that I was able to finally learn how to properly play the blood spec, the tank spec, because I kept struggling trying to understand it or figure out how to play it. I know, some of you are probably going, what? I hadn't really taken the time to really read all the tooltips of all my abilities to see how how they function and such. But I finally took the time to sit down and read all of them and be like, okay, so this goes into that and this. And I finally learned how to play it, and I can now finally be able to actually play the blood tank spec in dungeons and raids, and I'm very, very happy about that. Because for a while, all I could really play was Unholy. Now I feel, I also like Frost as well, but, I don't know. I think Frost is great if you're going to be a DPS, either in dungeons or raids specifically. Unholy is great for if you're going to be questing, because of course you get little bodyguards here to help protect you while you're out questing by yourself. And Blood, of course, is going to be great for tanking, so. But yeah, recognize that guy? Certainly looks familiar if you went through Black Temple, doesn't it? You know what I'm going to do, actually? I'm actually going to swap. I'm going to swap to Blood. Because I actually don't want these guys to kill bosses too quick in case there's extra dialogue. Alright.
You dare look upon the host of souls! I shall devour you all!
Wonderful voice, isn't it?
The crown of souls will not be abated! You only delay the inevitable!
Not a bad looking staff. Wish I could collect it. I can wield pole arms.
Excellent work, champions. We shall set up our base camp in these chambers. My Magi will get the Scourge transport device working shortly. Step inside it when you are ready for your next mission. I will meet you on the other side.
Alright, let's
All
go
I
and turn
ever
this into
wanted was
Jaina.
to study.
The pit of Saron lies ahead, and if our scouts are correct, past that will be the hall's reflection. It is there that Arthas lets his guard down, and it is there that we hope to find a clue to his weakness. Or maybe, just maybe, his redemption. Quickly, through the portal. I'll meet you on the other side. Little note also. I do also want to point out as well. Recently, I listened to the audiobook of the Arthas Rise of the Lich King book. And that just adds, for me, just more meaning to a lot of this, including doing this right here, the Alliance version of these dungeons with Jaina, because, oh my gosh, it's heartbreaking just seeing how much Jaina and Arthas cared for each other before all the stuff that happened in Warcraft 3 happened. Also, that book actually added a lot of extra little things in, from that. A good chunk of the book is the stuff from happened in Warcraft 3. But there's extra little bits of dialogue and extra thoughts they had and such that I just thought was amazing. The conversation that took place before the events of Stratholme, that was not in the game, but in the book, because people were like, oh, how come they didn't say this or think that? They did. It was in the book, but it wasn't in the game. And it just added to that. And just the stuff with Arthas and Jaina just broke my heart. And I'll tell you what, it also makes me want to go through IceCrown Citadel and farm Invincible even more. Because, oh my gosh, the stuff with Invincible, when Invincible died, and what just how much Invincible meant to Arthas, and what he had. Oh, it was so sad. But yeah, let me also re-emphasize the point of the difference here between doing this as Alliance and doing this as Horde. As Alliance, you're here with Jaina, and you can tell and hear in her voice, she is hoping against hope that there could somehow still be a way to save Arthas. She's still holding on to that hope. Sylvanas, going through here, she is awful. She is showing that she is still determined to get her revenge, her vengeance of killing Arthas. That's all that matters to her. Because remember, after we do defeat the Lich King in IceCrown, she kills herself. Or at least she tries to, because that's all that mattered to her. Sylvanas wanted nothing but to kill him for revenge. Jaina wanted nothing but to save the man she loved. That's the huge difference here. And why the Alliance version of these dungeons, and heck, even the raid, though really the raid is not that much of a difference. It's mainly these 3 dungeons specifically. But anyway. So see, this is what I'm talking about. You then have a portal that, instead of leaving the dungeon, you go straight into the very next dungeon. This was something kind of new, I think. No, I take that back. Because they actually did this back in BC. With, there was a set of dungeons you could do back in BC. That kind of played in with both Tempest Keep and Black Temple. These 3 right here. Because these are, like, all right next to Tempest Keep, so you could do that. But I don't think they necessarily, like, went one right after the other, if I recall. But this was, like, I think the first time that 3 dungeons like this just went one right after the other as a lead-in to the raid. So here we are in the Pit of Saron. Let's, see what this has to say. Alright, no, that's just the same generic one here. I'll go over that in just a bit. So you'll notice who is this guy? Scourge Lord Tyrannus. Interesting.
Intruders have entered the Master's domain. Signal the alarm.
Far away.
Fodder. Not even fit to labor in a quarry. Relish these final moments, for soon you will be nothing more than mindless undead.
Heroes of the Alliance, attack!
Your last waking memory will be of agonizing pain.
Watch this. Pay attention to this.
No! You monster!
Minions, destroy these interlopers.
I do what I
I'm
must.
out of range.
Please forgive
don't
me,
have a
noble
target.
soldiers. You will have to make your way across this quarry on your own.
It's
Free
too
any
far
Alliance
away.
slaves that you come across. We will most certainly need their assistance in battling Tyrannus. I will gather reinforcements and join you on the other side of the quarry.
So you notice how horrible that was, right? Our entire group of soldiers charged him, he just simply insta-killed them and raised them back as skeletons to attack us. But did you notice Jaina's reaction? You monster! I will do what I must. Please forgive me, soldiers. You know what Sylvanas says when that happens? Weaklings. And she's like that the whole way. It's grating.
Shh, I'm trying to think here.
I underestimated this Scourge Lord, and it's my men that paid for it. When I think that my guilt over Arthas' betrayal cannot go any deeper, he proves me wrong yet again. We have to press on. We cannot let their sacrifice be meaningless. They've put our captured soldiers to work in the quarry. Kill their captors and set them free, hero. We will need their aid when we confront Scourge Lord Tyrannus. Free 15 slaves and kill Forge Master Garfrost. So, yeah, you notice... Oh. Hello, Tyrannus. He's just flying over, just kind of watching. But yeah, do you know what the point of this place is? Do you know what this is? Why it's called the Pit of Saron? Saron is short for Saronite. You remember what Saronite is, right? The rock-hardened or crystallized version of the blood of Saron, which is which I will point out, it does not affect undead, but it absolutely affects the living. You guys can imagine what the blood of an old god like Saron does, right? Yeah. Yeah. And they are harvesting this. I mean, if I recall, that's what a lot of the Lich King's armor is actually made of. Because Saronite is incredibly strong. There's a quest that you can do. I forget which zone it is. I think it may be Sholazar Basin, if I recall. I don't exactly remember, but what I do remember... Let me put that up there. There we go. What I do remember is that they found this chunk of Saronite, and they were trying multiple things. They tried weapons, they tried the elements, and they tried the light. And it was, like, impervious to all of it. And this was kind of like a revelation as to Saronite, and at the time, they didn't know what it was or what it was made for. And then we found out about Saron, and it was like, uh-oh. Especially when you have the realization that the Lich King is having them harvest a lot of this, because then he can outfit the entire Scourge army with Saronite, which is a very daunting and horrible thing to have to deal with and contend with. So that's what he's having them harvest here. This is all just raw Saronite that is being harvested or looked for. Like, not all, like, a lot of this is still just rock, I think. How much of this is Saronite? It's basically like they're mining for gold. You know, like, all this wouldn't be the gold. It would be the rocks that you would go through to try and find the gold, basically. But that's kind of the basic idea of what they're doing here. I need to focus on actually freeing these slaves for the quest. There we go.
I need to get closer.
Sorry if my character's voice is a little loud. I need to get closer. I've actually been kind of ignoring these guys a little bit to I just do a backflip, just a random backflip. Aha! Behold! The athleticism of a worgen! It's like when a blood elf just randomly spins around when you jump. It's like, behold, I can backflip. Really? There's like, then it's like, all right, are there any more slaves? Yep, yes there are. There are plenty more. And you'll notice a lot of them are different races. That was a Draenei. This is a Night Elf. Here's another Draenei. That's a dwarf. Yeah, he's definitely been taking the opportunity to try and capture as many of them as he can to be able to use them as harvesters, basically. Alright, and one more right here. Go ahead and clear out this trash.
I need to target something first.
There we go. Gotta free a gnome there. There's a gnome. Thank you for freeing me. Alright, now let's go find this guy. No. Ah, over there. Gotta be careful they don't fall down there. I did once during a time-walking dungeon run of this. Oh, man.
It's too far away.
Of course, as I said, don't really have to worry about, trash at this point, because I can just one-shot everything here.
I need to get closer.
And you would think, well, you're playing a tank. You don't do that much damage, right? No, no. Blood Death Knights, yeah, they still do really nice. Now, they're not nearly as strong as they were when Wrath first came out, because I have been told the stories of how overpowered Death Knights were when Wrath first came out. They're not that strong anymore, but they're still really fun to play. I really enjoy all three specs now that I finally taught myself how to play Blood. Hello, Forge Master. You can see he is basically a giant abomination. Yeah, kind of like the ones that we saw in Noxramas.
Tiny creatures under feet. You bring Carvras something good to eat. Carvras, giant under rats, clean, safe, boss, great shame. For later.
Another shall take his place. You waste your time.
I was like, where is he? Where did he say that?
Greetings.
You've done well this day, with many of the slaves freed and now with access to the forges. It will not be long before I have a strong force to aid in delivering us from Scourgeland, Lord Tyrannus, and this foul pit. I'm compelled to say Tyrannus instead of Tyrannus, just because I remember that's how it was said in Star Wars. Darth Tyrannus. We need to make our way to the... I just noticed that. For a second, I thought that was that was the face of something. But no, that's just that's like a floating necropolis, in a manner of speaking. We need to make our way up the main path and through the cave to Tyrannus' rise. He will be forced to confront us there, lest we make our way into the Citadel proper. Now go, Death Knight. My men and I will be there to stand by you when the confrontation with Tyrannus comes.
Be careful.
By the way, if you ever get a chance, do some of the quests in Wrath as a Worgen. Specifically in Grizzly Hills. Because the quest lines in Grizzly Hills involve them dealing with people who are... Oh, are you ready for it? Worgens! Seriously. It's quite funny, actually. Oh, hold on. Change my pet. There we go. Gotta have the right brood out. But it's quite funny, where they're horrified by these things called Worgens, and yet you're playing as a
assault on the Scourge Lord's location.
Here's the next boss over here.
It's too far away.
Gotta be careful of those things. Yeah. I did a time-walking version of this. That hurts. Ick.
It must not be interrupted. Take care of them.
Yeah, you can see he's riding him. Look at that.
Wait, don't kill me, please. I'll tell you everything.
I'm not so naive as to
Oh, I wish
believe
I could
your
pick that
appeal
up.
for clemency, but I will listen.
What you seek is in the Master's lair, but you must destroy Tyrannus to gain entry. Now, within the halls of reflection, you will find Frostmourne. It holds the truth.
Frostmourne lies unguarded? Impossible.
I swear it's true. Please don't kill me.
Worthless gnat. Death is all that awaits you.
Uh-oh.
No!
Trifling gnome.
Do not think that I shall permit you entry into my master's sanctum so easily. Pursue me if you dare.
What a cruel end. Come, heroes. We must see if the gnome's story is true. If we can separate Arthas from Frostmourne, we might have a chance at stopping him.
Oh, I almost forgot. Garfrost has crafted some of the most deadly weapons the Scourge has employed against the living. He can quickly forge Saronite into terrible instruments of pain and death. Or he can just throw it at his enemies. Aiken Crick. The diminutive necromancer Crick oversees the workers in the pit of Saron. From atop of the ghastly Ick, he can safely throw poison, explosives, and dark magic at his enemies. From this vantage point, he has also learned dark secrets of IceCrown Citadel that could topple the Lich King. And the next boss is the guy who's been flying around, Scourge Lord Tyrannus. The Death Knight Tyrannus was promoted to Scourge Lord after slaying the giant Garfrost. His power, ruthlessness, and frostworm Rhymefang make him the perfect guardian for the Pit of Saron and the entrance to the Halls of Reflection. This is him wearing that full-on set. He's got the Tier 1 set with the exception of the Tier 2 helmet. I very happily was able to acquire all 3 of those helmets now. So now I have those as part of my collection. The only things I don't have as part of that set, you know, I'm missing a couple pieces here for the 10-player normal set. The 25-player, well, I really want this set because I love this blue color version of it. I just need to go through. The only thing I don't like is that apparently there are boots missing. And then the 25 heroic one, this red one here, I'm missing a few of those. I'm sure I'll be able to acquire the rest of these as I go through IceCrown Citadel. Hopefully not too many times to get...
Your pursuit shall be in vain, intruders. For the Lich King has placed an army of undead at my command. Behold!
I was going to say depending on how many times it takes me to farm Invincible. Oh, you mean this?
I'm out of range.
Let me show you how a real Death Knight does things.
I need to get closer.
That's how a Death Knight does things.
You will not reach the entrance of my lord's lair. Soldiers, destroy them.
Oh, you mean those soldiers? Let me show you this other mount I have here. The Meat Wagon!
Rhymefang,
Oh, the time walking version of this right here was quite a pain because you have to avoid this, but you also have to deal with all of this trash on the way. So you have to be watching your feet to avoid that, what just happened to me, because look at how much of my health I just took. And you have to, of course, avoid dealing with the, you have to also deal with the trash, but oh my goodness. Gonna wait for that to drop. This is like one of the only safe spots right here. Ah! Speed up. So another great thing about using a Worgen Death Knight is you get an extra speed up as opposed to just Death's Advance. You also get Dark Flight. Alright, Tyrannus. By the way, Rhymefang is going to also make an appearance in the raid.
Alas, brave adventurers, your meddling has reached its end. Do you hear the clatter of bone and steel coming up the tunnel behind you? That is the sound of your impending demise.
We will hold off the undead as long as we can, even to our dying breath. Deal with the Scourge Lord.
Such an amusing gesture from the rabble. When I have finished with you, my master's blade will feast upon your souls. Die.
You first.
Warn.
So Rhymefang takes off.
Brave champions, we owe you our lives, our freedom. Though it be a tiny gesture in the face of this enormous debt, I pledge that from this day forth, all will know of your deeds, and the blazing path of light you cut through the shadow of this dark citadel. This day will stand as a testament not only to your valor, but to the fact that no foe, not even the Lich King himself, can
Heroes,
stand
to
when
me.
Alliance and Horde set aside their difference.
And ah! So yeah, Rhymefang got Sindragosa to show up and just wipe them all out.
The Frost
Yeah.
Queen is gone. We must keep moving. Our objective is near.
I gotta say, Laura Bailey just nails it
All
so
I ever
well.
wanted was to
But it's
stay.
even more so when we get to the next dungeon.
I could not save them. Damn you, Arthas. Damn you!
There's an example. You can just hear how much this is tearing her up inside. Because she still loves him. And she hates that all this is happening, and she's blaming herself for it.
Shh, I'm trying to think here.
Such a senseless waste. Arthas goes too far. I can only hope that what we find in the halls of reflection makes this somehow worth it. If what that vile gnome said is to be trusted, Frostmourne should be there, and with it, answers to confronting Arthas. We must press on, hero. We've come so far. We're so close to our goal. I must delay a moment to send Elandra back to the airship. I'm uncertain how we're going to escape with so many men lost and so few to keep our path insecure. Continue on. I will meet you in the halls of reflection. Now, I remember the first time I was leveling a character through this and I found out about this dungeon, I wanted to do this dungeon so badly. But it wouldn't let me because I think it was like I didn't have a high enough gear or something like that, or I didn't do the right quest lines, because I actually did not end up doing quests in IceCrown. Stupid me, I know. I was an idiot for missing out on those. I didn't really understand like what exactly I was doing back then. I regret it a lot, and and kind of want to do it differently the next time I really do level a character. But this right here was the dungeon I really wanted to do because of the story significance that takes place in this dungeon. It's a difficult dungeon for the last encounter, but storyline wise, it's one of my favorite dungeons in the game. And this is the first thing you see. Frostmourne, right there, just floating, like in isolation there. The Lich King is nowhere around. He's just left this here just to be, I guess in this, I don't really know what this room would be considered. Like, think of a room that you would leave, like, your weapon that you use to kind of let it rest there while it's not being used. A den, a trophy room, something along those lines.
The chill of this place. Ooh, I can feel my blood freezing. What is that? Up ahead. Could it be? Heroes at my side!
Now, again, oh, by the way, I also want to point out another difference between Jaina and Sylvanas in this dungeon. So you know that guy at the end just now in the Pit of Saron who was doing this speech before Sindragosa killed him, and Jaina was like, no. It's like she was just torn up by that. Sylvana says, oh, I thought he would never shut up. That's her reaction to that guy getting killed. And this all right here is, like, for me, the biggest culmination between the difference. So what you are about to see is super significant if you're here with Jaina, because of the connection here from Warcraft 3. There's no connection here if you're here with Sylvanas. You'll see what I mean in just a moment, based on who we are about to speak with that is going to come out of Frostmourne.
All I ever wanted was to study.
Oh, yeah.
Shh.
Frostmourne.
Think here.
The blade that destroyed our kingdom. I think Sylvanas says, the blade that turned me into this, or the blade that took my life, or something along those lines. I forget. I don't want to remember. That's that's how much I despise doing this dungeon with Sylvanas. The Halls of Reflection. Finally. Let me know when you're ready. Arthas may not be here, but it would be naive to think that he would leave Frostmourne unguarded entirely. Yeah! But keep in mind, pretty much whatever the Sword sees, the Lich King sees. Anything that's taking place in this room right now with Frostmourne, the Lich King is aware. He knows.
All I ever wanted was to
Can
study.
you remove the sword?
Frostmourne, the blade that destroyed our kingdom. Stand back! Touch that blade and your soul will be scarred for all eternity. I must attempt to commune with the spirits locked away within Frostmourne. Give me space. Back up, please!
And look who shows up to speak with us.
Jaina, could it truly be you?
Uther!
Uther.
Dear Uther! I'm so sorry.
Jaina, you haven't much time. The Lich King sees what the sword sees. He will be here shortly.
Arthas is here?
No,
Maybe
girl. Arthas is not here. Arthas is merely a presence within the Lich King's mind. A dwindling
Right there.
presence.
But Uther, if there's
Right there,
any
that
hope
line.
of reaching Arthas, I must try.
Jaina, listen to me. You must destroy the Lich King. You cannot reason with him. He will kill you and your allies and raise you all as powerful soldiers of the Scourge.
Tell me how, Uther. How do I destroy my prince?
Snap out of it, girl. You must destroy the Lich King at the place where he
Oh, that
merged
line
with
gets me every
Ner'zhul.
time.
Atop the spire, at the frozen throne. It is the only way.
You're right, Uther. Forgive me. I don't know what got a hold of me. We will deliver this information to the king and the knights that battle the Scourge within IceCrown Citadel.
There is something else that you should know about the Lich King. Control over the Scourge must never be lost. Even if you were to strike down the Lich King, another would have to take his place. For without the control of its master, the Scourge would run rampant across the world, destroying all living things. A grand sacrifice by a noble soul.
Who could bear such a burden?
Who indeed?
I do not know, Jaina. I suspect that the piece of Arthas that might be left inside the Lich King is all that holds the Scourge from annihilating Azeroth.
Then maybe there is still hope.
No, Jaina! He is coming. You mustn't, Paladin. So, you wish to commune with the dead? You shall have your wish. Balric, Marwyn, bring their corpses to my chamber when you are through.
As you wish, my lord.
I'll talk more about these two in a moment.
Soldiers of Lordaeron, rise to meet your master's call.
You won't deny me this, Arthas. I must know. I must find out.
So now I gotta fight some ads here. Actually, this is where I kind of wish I was playing Unholy so that my minions could kind of just deal with them for me. Can I do that? Probably not. No, because I'm in combat. Great. Whatever.
It's too far away.
Alright, can I do this before I'm in combat again? No! Alright, whatever. Anyway. I would like to remind you all, I want to point out that Uther and the Lich King are played by the same voice actor, Michael McConaughey. Isn't that amazing? Just like the incredible work that man does. He also voiced Kel'Thuzad, by the way. Which is why I still find it incredibly stupid and frustrating that they had someone else do the voice of Kel'Thuzad in Max Promise when there's really no other no legit reason. Oh, hold on.
And children. None was spared the master's wrath. Your death will be no different.
Again, I'll talk more about Falric and Marwyn in just a moment.
Marwyn, finish them.
Gotta deal with waves here. Alright, now let's get my guys out here to deal with this. There we go. So, yeah, again, I find it ridiculous that I really wish they would just simply have Michael McConaughey revoice Kel'Thuzad and Nox, but I know that would be kind of insulting to the actor who did play him before. But, what else was I gonna? Because there's a lot to talk about in this segment here. This segment here has a lot to talk about that it just threw at people. Let me see here. Let me make sure I get this. Once I defeat Marwyn, this whole sequence will stop, giving me time to go over there for the last sequence here. That'll give me time to talk. But Uther said a lot of very important things here. That a lot of people, I think, needed to hear to clarify certain things. Especially in terms of whether or not that's actually Arthas or someone else. And this is something that many of us, including myself, came to realize is that was not Arthas. That hasn't been Arthas since he found Frostmourne back in Warcraft 3. Who we saw when he did find Frostmourne became Death Knight Arthas. And then when he put the crown on at the end of the Frozen Throne. Well, let me reiterate some of the stuff here that Uther said to Jaina here, because he knew he didn't have much time. He said, Arthas is not here. Arthas is merely a presence within the Lich King's mind, a dwindling presence, but a presence nonetheless, and that is really important to know.
Death is all that you will find here. Yes, run to meet your destiny. Its bitter, cold embrace awaits you.
Yes, I'm sure it is. It's hard to believe that there is much hope of defeating Arthas upon the steps of his own throne. And who will take up the crown of the Lich King if it comes to that? Many questions remain, but you need to find Jaina and escape with the Lich King while there is still time. So before we do that, though, again, I want to finish these thoughts here. it's very important to note that he is acknowledging that that was not actually Arthas. That was the Lich King, and Arthas has a dwindling presence within him, because that reiterates the truth about the plan of the Lich King, but also Arthas's plan. You must destroy the Lich King. You can't reason with him. He will kill you and your allies and raise you all as powerful soldiers of the Scourge. That was his plan. And he was so confident in it because he knew he could do it just like that. And then he told us, you must destroy the Lich King at the place where he merged with Ner'zhul, atop the spire at the Frozen Throne. It's the only way. Again, he says something important here, that he merged with Ner'zhul, because Ner'zhul is gone. Ner'zhul, the being that was Ner'zhul, he's gone. In the Arthas book, at the end, the very end, like the epilogue of the book, after he has placed the crown on his head at the end of the Frozen Throne, in his mind, Ner'zhul is telling Death Knight Arthas about all the things they can do together now, and Death Knight Arthas stabs him and basically tells him, I don't need you anymore. I now have everything that I need from you. The power is mine, and I am now the Lich King, and I am ready. And basically whatever remained of Ner'zhul in terms of his power merged with Death Knight Arthas, as well as the essence of the Lich King that is within the helm. Remember, the Lich King was a creation by the Nathrazim as a separate being known as the Lich King, because it's a separate entity. And every time, including up to the current one that merged with Bolvar at the end of the raid, he keeps getting pieces here and there. One of the things that made the Lich King so powerful is that he retained powers from some of those beings. Remember, Ner'zhul was a shaman, so the Lich King has the powers of a shaman. Arthas was a paladin, so he retains the powers of a paladin. And he's also the Lich King, having the powers of the Lich King with the undead and the Scourge. That's a lot. And then he says something else. Control of the Scourge must never be lost. If you were to strike down the Lich King, another would have to take his place. For without the control of its master, the Scourge would run rampant across the world, destroying all living things. This was a huge, like dropped bit of news here. That there always had to be a Lich King, otherwise the Scourge would just destroy everything. So then you realize someone else had to take the place of the Lich King, but who? Who would do it? And of course many of us thought maybe it would end up being Tyrion, which would have been a bad idea. But again, just some of these lines here that Jaina says, and there's no connection here in the dialogue, again, between Uther and Sylvanas, because there's no connection between those two. Those two never met in Warcraft 3. They don't know each other. So there's like no real relevant dialogue here between Uther and Sylvanas. Only Uther and Jaina, because of course there would be. Those two knew each other. They were friends back in Warcraft 3. They were there at Stratholme with Arthas. There's a line here that Jaina says that gets me every time. Tell me how, Uther. How do I destroy my prince? And this is where I credit Laura Bailey's voice acting. She sounds so broken up and torn up. Because, again, I learned how much those two cared for each other in the book. And it's just heartbreaking. Whereas if you're going through here with Sylvana, she's all about, kill Arthas, kill him. Hello.
You and your target worthy to face the Lich King.
I mean, I already have faced him. He turned me into this. He turned me into a Death Knight. I already have faced him. So you'll notice oh, by the way, that reminds me, before we go into here and have the last bit of the dungeon here, there's one more thing I want to talk about. Falric and Marwyn. So, unfortunately, they were not named back in the original Warcraft 3. I hope this is something that Blizzard changes for the upcoming Warcraft 3 Reforged that's coming out later this year, where they're actually going to have them named, Falric and Marwyn, during the campaign. Because they are both the two captains that were at Arthas' side throughout the human campaign in Warcraft 3. They just weren't named Falric and Marwyn. In the cutscene where Death Knight Arthas returns to Lordaeron to see his father, Falric and Marwyn are the two men who open the doors of the throne room to let him in. So these two have been with Arthas and Death Knight Arthas for years. So the fact that these two were the two that face us here was a pretty big deal. Falric. This champion of the Scourge was among the first Death Knights created by Arthas after claiming Frostmourne. Falric loyally followed his prince on a doomed campaign to Northrend, only to be rewarded with betrayal by the prince that he served faithfully all his life. Marwyn had known Arthas all his life, and saw him not just as his prince, but as a true friend. As Arthas sailed to Northrend, the knight followed him without hesitation, though his friend would later plunge a cursed runeblade through his heart. Marwyn still felt it break upon seeing what the prince had become. The last boss of this dungeon is called Escape from Arthas. Two leaders sought to defeat the Lich King in single combat, but quickly learned that they were no match against the power of the one true king. Seeking to avoid their fate, they tried to flee from his sanctum. Arthas would savor every moment of their futile efforts. There was no escape from the inevitable. This boss encounter is the closest thing I can think of to what it's like to perhaps run away from... I guess I could use Jason from Friday the 13th as an example. You know how you're running away as fast as you can, and you turn around to look back, and you see Jason, he's not even running after you. He's just slowly walking after you. Just slowly walking. And yet you feel like you can't escape him. That's what this boss encounter is like. Now, it's not going to be a big deal for me, because, of course, well, you know, I can just kind of handle anything in here at this point. But back in the day...
Your allies have arrived, Jaina, just as you promised.
I'm trying to think here.
You will all become powerful agents of the Scourge.
He is too powerful. We must leave this place at once. My magic can hold him in place for only a short time. Come quickly, heroes.
We are basically just running away from him. That's all this is. We are running away.
There is no escape. Death's cold embrace.
I will destroy this barrier. You must hold the undead back.
So yeah, this encounter is basically us holding off all these ads and trying to take them all down, while Jaina, or Sylvanas, though it's more feasible to me that Jaina would be capable of doing this instead of Sylvanas. I still think that Jaina could take on Sylvanas. In fact, I would love to see that fight happen in BFA. But anyway, that Jaina could be able to do this. And by the way, you notice how slow he's walking?
Another ice wall. Keep the undead from interrupting my incantation so that I may bring this wall down.
You also notice he has this field of, like, swirling snow and ice around him. That's called Frozen Tempest. I know that because that's basically the ability they can use when you play as the Lich King in Heroes of the Storm. That will basically insta-kill you. The idea back in the day is that you had to quickly take all these ads down because, well, if he reaches you, you're pretty much done. And you would think, oh, but look how slowly he's walking. No, trust me, he is walking plenty fast. And that's what I'm trying to convey here, the feeling of what it's like to, as an example, try to run away from someone like Jason, where you're running super fast to
We're
get away.
almost there. Don't give up.
And yet he's just slowly walking behind you, and yet you feel like you still can't escape. That's kind of what this feels like. Because I've heard people say who did this back in the day, they were like, no, trust us, he's walking plenty fast. Plenty fast. Because it would have to take you a while to take down these ads. Now, of course, I can just insta-kill these guys. But back in the day, you were like, kill them fast, because you would see him. Look at him. You just see him slowly making his way, and it's a terrifying feeling, because you can't kill him in this dungeon. You can get him down to 1 health.
Can you fight it?
But you can't kill him in here. And he just keeps taunting you, like, how long do you think you can fight this? How long do you think you can actually try and escape me? There is no escape. You really do feel like you're running away from a monster in a horror movie.
Your barriers can't hold us back much longer, monster. I will shatter them all.
I love how the ghouls just fly at me like, "Rah, we're gonna get you." This is why I wanted to switch to Unholy, so that my own ghoul here can just kind of wipe out everything here. I know it's not realistic that my ghoul can take down an abomination and such, but, you know. Now see, they're quickly catching up here, you can see. And he just keeps summoning in more, while just slowly making his way over. I heard this was, back in the day, this was one of the toughest dungeons to do back then, especially on Heroic, because these ads were so hard to kill. But, you know, because they were so hard to kill, you just ran out of time, and he eventually caught up with you. I don't recall any other dungeon, or, you know, in this game, giving that kind of a feeling, which is pretty cool when you think about it.
There's an opening up ahead. Go now!
So you'll notice that we got through the last barrier. Now, when that happens, he picks up speed. Because now he has to quickly make himself here for the final sequence here. It actually changes his running animation.
It's a dead end. We have no choice but to fight. Steel yourself, heroes, for this is our last stand.
He used to just walk really fast, but now they actually changed his running animation to look like this. They even changed it in ICC when you meet him at the Frozen Throne.
Nowhere to run. You're mine now.
Fire! Fire!
Quickly, climb aboard. We mustn't tarry here. There's no telling when this whole mountainside will collapse.
Forgive me, heroes. I should have listened to Uther. I had to
As in the
see
wall
for
goes away.
myself. To look into his eyes one last time. I am sorry. We now know what must be done. I will deliver this news to King Varian and High Lord Fordring.
Oh, Jaina.
All I ever wanted was
See,
to
this
study.
is the stuff that, regardless of the stuff that currently kind of irritates me about her, this is the stuff that reminds me how much I feel for this woman so much and all that she's gone through. My gosh. Gosh, I really hope there's a way, or wish there was a way we could bring Arthas back from the darkness. I can barely believe we're still alive. It was foolish of me to follow him. I've made that mistake too many times. And you. It was reckless of you to come after me instead of escaping with the information. But, well, thank you. You truly are a hero. With Uther's guidance, we may stand a chance at defeating Arthas. All the lives lost today were not in vain. So again, storyline-wise, as you could probably figure out based on what we just learned, this, of course, led directly into the raid, because now with this information, we knew what we had to do. We had to face him at the Frozen Throne. It was pretty much the only way. Of course. I wonder if I would have gotten more if I did this on Heroic. So there's the pull to Dalaran.
Well met.
The best war is a swift war. The same can be said of conversation. What say you, Wolf?
Be careful.
I like how the wall collapses and then just disappears and he's gone. He's like, well, I guess I'll just have to give up on chasing them down, even though I probably could have knocked that down, but whatever. So yeah, I hope you can see why I really enjoy those dungeons, especially from the Alliance side, story-wise. I can't stand the Horde version because of Sylvanas, but I just love this Alliance version because of Jaina, and especially Laura Bailey's voice acting. But just that conversation with Jaina and Uther was just so good and so important. So I'm gonna also, in a separate video, show you guys the Alliance version of IceCrown Citadel when we take this guy through the raid, to show you guys how to do the raid with a non-healing character. Stay tuned.